strike the count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Daniel Starkand. Daniel, 8-4 victory over the Yankees, and honestly, the scoreline a bit misleading because it wasn't even that close. Pretty good night to be a Dodgers fan.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much a wire-to-wire victory. Obviously, you put up a sixth spot in the first inning with Clayton Kershaw on the mound. That's going to be a win 100 times out of 100, pretty much. So good night all around. Plenty of contributors. So yeah, we'll get all into it right now.
Yeah, and we'll get to sort of players of the game and that kind of thing, but we have to start where the game started because that was the moment. So first pitch of the game, Clayton Kershaw gives up an absolute rocket of a single to Gleyber Torres. Clayton Kershaw, 5+ ERA in the month of May, has really struggled, and you're thinking, oh no. Now Aaron Judge is coming up with a runner on, first pitch, liner, and sure enough, the second pitch of the game is a tailor-made double play, 5-4-3 to Max Muncy. Kershaw gets out of the first inning in just 5 pitches, and then in the bottom of the first, it was an absolute marathon for the Dodgers. Mookie Betts leadoff homer. A few batters later, Max Muncy, a 2-run homer himself. And then you've got James Outman with an RBI single with the bases loaded, Miguel Rojas, a sac fly, and then Mookie Betts, yet another RBI single. So the Dodgers score 6 runs on 8 hits in the first. There were a couple balls that were smoked. There were a couple balls that didn't make it out of the infield. There were 3 or 4 seeing eye singles. But to see that, like, it's just weird how little things change and how small the margins can be, because it was 6-0 after the first, but you know, one batter in, it felt like we were headed for the exact opposite outcome.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you don't see innings like that very often, but obviously for that to happen in the first inning, it's great to see. Pretty much everyone contributed, and who knows, like that inning could have gone on even longer if Outman doesn't get picked off at third base to end it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just a great way to set the tone. And you're right. I mean, Kershaw starts off the game with a pitch right down the middle to Gleyber that he knocks up the middle, and then you got Aaron Judge coming up, and you're saying, you know, here we go again. But then the very next pitch, you know, you get a ground ball double play. So that's a big sigh of relief right there. Obviously, Aaron Judge has been on a heater lately. So, you know, all night Kershaw did a great job with him. We'll get into Kershaw's start more. But yeah, I mean, that first inning, I mean, that was enough right there, you know, to be honest.
Yeah, so Yankees get back 1 in the second on a Josh Donaldson homer, 1 of 2 he hits. This one, an absolute tank, 450 feet to left center field. JD Martinez gets one back for the Dodgers in the bottom of the third. Stanton in the top of the fourth. Those are the only 2 runs. Kershaw ends up giving a pair of solo home runs. Mookie Betts gets his second of the game in the bottom of the 6th. And then Josh Donaldson, a 2-run homer in the 9th off Phil Bickford, puts the lead, the final score at 8-4. But let's talk about Clayton Kershaw, because I think that's the biggest storyline, at least to start. This is a guy, Daniel, who came in having struggled of late. I mentioned the stats. If you look at his numbers in May, it was a whip of like 2. He had a 5.55 ERA in May. In 24 and a third innings, he had allowed 42 base runners. He had allowed 4 earned runs in back-to-back starts in which he finished just 8 2/3. This is all after pitcher of the month in April. We know he's dealing with some stuff off the field, his mom passing away. But tonight, he was really, really good. 9 strikeouts. As we said, he gives up 2 runs, but really, because they were ahead by so much, he could just pound the zone and know the solo home runs weren't going to kill him.
Yeah, that's exactly it right there. I mean, when you're given a 6-run lead in the first inning, your job at that point is just to pound the zone, throw as many strikes as possible, and try to get deep into the game, knowing that the bullpen's been taxed in recent weeks. You know, the starting rotations and shambles pretty much haven't been giving a lot of length. And even Kershaw himself, like you were saying, he's been struggling. He hasn't given much length his last couple times out. So he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He attacked the zone. You know, gave up 2 solo home runs, which fine, you know, no harm, no foul. You got a big lead. Those don't hurt you at all. So yeah, for him to recognize that and be able to get through 7, I think that was huge, especially looking at the rest of the series. You got 2 rookies on the mound, and you're not exactly sure how much length you're going to get out of them. So for him to give you 7 here, that was huge. And then, you know, you're not using, you know, your high leverage guys after that. So pretty much a rest night for the bullpen. And it was good to see him get back on track, first and foremost, just because he had been struggling his last few starts.
Yeah, and Bickford, one of the last arms they would want to use, so not a guy that you necessarily need in a close game. Almonte has been up or down. He's been good lately, but only 14 pitches. So, I mean, he could easily pitch in one of the next 2 games against the Yankees and not feel anything there. But you mentioned, I think the key was the 7 innings Kershaw got you. I mean, we were looking, I think through 3, he was at like 35 pitches. And so we were talking on the live watch along, like, all right, he needs to give him a minimum of 6. You'd love to get 7, but then through the 5th, it was like, oh man, the pitch count's starting to get up there. I think he finished the 5th and he was 70 plus, something like that. But short inning gets out of the 6th at 85 pitches, come back in the 7th and gets through it. Looking at his StatCast numbers, some of the whiff rate, 50 swings, 13 whiffs. So not incredible stuff from Kershaw, but it was good enough. He was pounding the strike zone. And
a big strike zone we should have all night for both teams.
Fair enough. Yes, if you weren't watching this game, the umpire generous, and Kershaw was the beneficiary of that a handful of times. Dodger hitters were victims a handful of times, but I think it was the first inning. He got a strike 3 call that was about 3 inches off the plate, not even close. And he said, all right, it's going to be one of those nights. And once the Dodgers took a 6-run lead, you felt pretty good about being one of those nights.
Yep.
On the other side of the ball, let's talk offense. Mookie Betts starts and ends with him 4 for 4 tonight, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, added a walk as well. So reaches base all 5 plate appearances. Every Dodger except for 2 reached base tonight. And I said that, I think it was in the 3rd inning. Yeah. Every Dodger had a hit except for Freddie Freeman and Miguel Rojas. Rojas ends up 0 for 3. Freddie Freeman with a sacrifice fly. Freddie Freeman 0 for 5. Smokes the ball every time. But let's talk about let's talk about Mookie though. I feel like, Daniel, a lot of the conversation has been how good Freddie Freeman has been of late and how good JD Martinez has been of late. And nobody has been talking about a guy in Mookie Betts who we sort of expect the overall production that we're getting from, but it's kind of going under the radar that like Freeman and like Martinez, he's one of the best players in baseball right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like Mookie's just like a steady hitter, and then like out of nowhere, he'll just get like super hot. And that's what we've seen last 2 games. He's got 4 homers. So that's a good way to raise your OPS right there. I believe he's in like the 920 range now, which, it doesn't feel like he's necessarily been that good, but he's just so steady at the top of that lineup, setting the table. I mean, that ball he hit in the 1st inning was absolutely smoked. I think Joe Davis said that was like his hardest hit homer in 8 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's on fire right now, and everyone else is following. It feels like just great at bats up and down the lineup all night. Even the outs that Severino was getting, like guys were hitting the ball hard. He clearly was not fooling anyone. But yeah, I mean, Mookie was great. Obviously, gets on base all 5 times. And if you're the Yankees, you got to be thinking like, man, I thought we got away from this guy. And same goes for JD. He homers tonight too. I mean, this lineup has been humming for a while now. The offense has really been carrying this team. We know we've talked at length about the struggles of the starting rotation, the bullpen. So it's really been the offense that's been carrying them.
I mean, heading into tonight, so before a 4 for 4 with a walk and 2 home runs, Mookie Betts was 4th in the National League in wins above replacement. Just to put that into context, nobody is talking about that. I mean, the guys that he's ahead of, he's ahead of Mike Trout, he's ahead of Goldschmidt, he's ahead of Soto, Yordan Alvarez. These are all guys behind Mookie Betts on the wins above replacement chart. So he's been incredible. Obviously, his defense plays a role in that as well. And again, that was before tonight. So the odds are he's going to be moving up that list after a game like the one that we just saw. But Daniel, the rest of that lineup, kind of did what the Dodgers needed them to do tonight. Freddie Freeman, again, some bad luck on the batted ball stuff, a bunch of hard hit balls for him. But Will Smith, 2 for 4, Muncy 1 for 4 with the home run, JD 2 for 4 with the home run, Jason Hayward 2 for 4, Vargas 1 for 3, Outman goes 1 for 4, but gets the big bases loaded single in the first. And then Miguel Rojas 0 for 3, but does get the sac fly, nearly a grand slam. Some warning track power from Miguel Rojas there. But, I said beforehand, the 1 through 8 in this lineup is the 1 through 8 that I would want. I would argue, Miguel Rojas, does he need to be in there? Should it be Chris Taylor? Should Mookie Betts be playing shortstop? Is there a way to get Peralta in there? Whoever it is. But the 1 through 8, even with Outman struggling, these are probably the 8 I trust the most right now. And I don't think it's coincidence that those top 8 put up 13 hits tonight, as well as a pair of walks and end up chasing a guy in Severino who making just his third start, but had been very, very good in the 2 starts he made this season.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at this lineup, like the 1 through 5 or even 1 through 6, if you want to add Hayward, who's been really good, that's been as good as any 1 through 6 in baseball all year. I mean, Mookie's at the top. He's got a 922 OPS. Freddie has got a 987. Yeah. Will Smith 959. Like all these guys starts with a 9. Max Muncy's the only one who starts with an 866, and he just hit his 18th homer tonight. Yeah. So those guys, we know the talent has been there. I think a lot of people, coming into the year thought, this lineup would take a step back. There's no Trey, there's no Justin Turner. I mean, there's no Cody, even though he was really bad. So I guess, that's not a huge loss there. But a lot of people thought that this lineup wasn't nearly as good. And so far, I believe they've been even better. I mean, especially the last few weeks here, they've really been on a tear. And it's not just one guy that's doing it. Like, it seems like it's a different guy every night. Like, even you got a guy like Outman who tore the cover off the ball in the month of April. He's been struggling, all of May, and this lineup hasn't skipped a beat. So, it's not a fun lineup to face when you're opposing hitters. Like, they're going to hit the ball hard. They're going to work counts. And right now we're seeing them click on all cylinders, and it's fun to watch. I mean, they're hitting home runs. They're hitting line drives. They're doing it all. Yeah.
Joe Davis mentioned it. They hit their 100th home run of the year tonight. That was July 5th or July 6th, I believe, last year. So they were a month ahead on that one. You look at the runs scored, 327. That's best in the National League by 37 runs. So, I mean, do the math on that. They're basically 10% better than the second best offense in the National League. That's the Arizona Diamondbacks, by the way, in case you were wondering. We'll get to them in a little bit. So, best run differential in the league, the 266 runs that they have allowed, is not as good of a number as you would like to see. But if we're just looking offensive, 327 runs scored. Just the Rangers and the Rays have scored most. The Rangers actually lead Major League Baseball in runs scored. So pretty crazy stat. Didn't see that one coming necessarily. Let's get to player of the game, something we do. And we've kind of made this a podium award. We talk first, second, and third because on a night like tonight, there's 2 guys. So I guess there's a little bit of debate on who deserves player of the game. I think Mookie Betts, Clayton Kershaw could both make a compelling case for the award tonight. But Daniel, I'll let you go first. Who are you giving player of the game to tonight?
I'm gonna go Mookie. I mean, on base all 5 times, 2 homers. And it's even the little things, like he gets a base hit in the 9th inning or in the 8th inning that gives Freddie another opportunity to extend his hit streak. Obviously, in the grand scheme of the game, that didn't really matter. But I know we were watching along on playback, and we wanted Freddie to get one more chance. So just a perfect night overall from Mookie. I mean, he starts the game with a homer and reaches base all 5 times. So I think it's a pretty easy choice for me.
Yeah, it's tough to argue with the guy who hits a leadoff home run, who gives you the lead, a guy who reaches base all 5 times, adds a second home run later in the game. I suppose if you were making the case for Kershaw, part of the argument would be he got you the full 7 innings. He was able to keep his pitch count. Aaron Judge, 0 with the pair of strikeouts for him, 9 strikeouts in total for Kershaw, just the 2 solo home runs. And so in a game in which the offense ends up scoring a total of 8 runs, you could make a case, but I'm with you. Mookie is first. Kershaw is second for me, and it's a clear 1 and 2. Who would you put third on this list? Is it JD Martinez, who goes 2 for 4 with the home run? Will Smith, a pair of hits? Jason Hayward, a pair of hits? Yency Almonte, a perfect inning out of the bullpen. I saw a Bickford comment here from Mike M. He wants Bickford on the podium. I'm not sure Bickford's going to make either of our top 3. But,
yeah, I don't know about that.
Is JD third on your list?
Yeah, I'll go JD. He had 2 hits another homer. Stays hot. I mean, he's been locked in, and we were talking about this on playback. He's at his best when he's driving the ball to center field, to right center field, and that's what we saw tonight.
Yeah, I think it's a hard thing to argue against with JD because he ends up adding the home run. And again, 2 hits for him. Vargas reaches twice. Hayward reaches twice. Smith reaches twice as well. But I like the point you make about Mookie. Mookie should get some extra credit for getting Freddie Freeman a 5th at bat there. So I think that goes in his category as well. But we agree on that. So we've both got Mookie first. We've got Clayton Kershaw second. We've got JD Martinez third. Let's do one more thing. Let's talk about a couple of the games coming up here, and then we'll get to some live questions on this one. We did a crossover show with some folks who host a Blue Wire podcast, part of the network we are a part of, who host the Bronx Pinstripes podcast. And I got to talk to the guy who hosts that show a little bit about the pitching matchups and some interesting ones. I mean, obviously we get Kershaw versus Severino out of the way. Garrett Cole versus Michael Grove tomorrow is an interesting one. On paper, you look at that and say, holy crap, the Dodgers are in trouble. It is worth noting that much like Clayton Kershaw, Garrett Cole has been really bad for the month of May. He's allowed 11 runs his last 2 starts, 5.18 ERA. He's allowed 50 base runners in 33 innings in the month of May. He's allowed 5 earned runs in 3 of his last 5 starts. So that's the Cole side. On the Grove side, it's his first start back up since the injured list and a rehab assignment. But those 2 starts in the minors, 10 innings, 2 earned, 14 Ks, just 9 base runners allowed. The ERA, of course, on him isn't good, but the velocity seems to have ticked up. And so what are you looking for tomorrow, Cole versus Grove on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously on paper, that's advantage Yankees, but like you said, Cole's been struggling. So we'll see, if the Dodgers could, hopefully get some early runs just like they did tonight. That'd be nice if they could jump on him early, give Grove some run support. But like you said, Grove pitched pretty well in his 2 rehab starts. The velo was up, he was missing bats. So we'll see how that translates. Obviously, the Yankees, they have a good lineup that he's going to be facing, and it's his first big league outing in probably a month and a half here. So my expectations aren't too high. But if he could give you, 5 solid innings, the way this offense is going, I think, they'll have a good chance to win.
Yeah. What are you looking for from Grove? Like 5 innings, 3 earned? I mean, I feel like that would be, we'd all be happy with that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing with him, it's a lot of it comes down to his command. Like there's been times where he started walking a lot of guys and it's got himself into trouble. So if he could pound the zone, if he's throwing, 96, 97, the way he was in his rehab outings, I think that'll play. So, not expecting too much. Like I'm not expecting a Clayton Kershaw type start from Michael Grove, but if he could give you 5 innings of 2 or 3 run ball, you'll take that. I mean, he's taking Gavin Stone's spot in the rotation here, and it's not like he was producing all that much in his short time up here. So, the expectations aren't high, and he's going against one of the best in Garrett Cole. So, hey, playing with house money as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm looking up the line for tomorrow. The total on tomorrow's game is 9, and the over is just -105. So if it's kind of like, if you think Grove's going to give up 3 runs in 5, and you'd be happy with that, and Cole, we just mentioned 5+ ERA over the last month, 11 runs in his last 2 starts. The over might be an interesting thing to look at in that one. Real quick, on Sunday, Domingo Germán for the Yankees, his second game back since the suspension, suspended for sticky stuff, comes back, and in his last outing, got lit up. 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, was a mess. So you've got that on one side, and on the other, you've got Bobby Miller, the Dodgers' top pitching prospect, who has now pitched twice, has looked really good. I would say he hasn't looked quite as good as maybe the box score looks. I think he's gotten some fortunate luck in the games that I've seen, but he throws triple digits, 11 innings, just 2 earned runs so far, 1 in each of those 2 starts. So another interesting matchup for the Dodgers and Yankees, because in that one, you've got Germán. It's like, well, how good is this guy when he's got to be careful about how much sticky stuff he's got on his hand, versus Miller, who you got to keep wondering if at some point the hitters are going to catch up to him and make adjustments.
Yeah, and I mean, this is that'll be another big game for Miller. I feel like he's only pitched in big games since he's been called up. Sunday night baseball against the Yankees, as far as a regular season game goes, it doesn't get much bigger than that. So, we'll see. He's looked really good. Obviously, we know the velo plays, but I've actually been really impressed with his off-speed stuff so far in his first 2 starts, the way he's commanded that. But we'll see. It's a tough lineup. Same thing with Grove. Like I'm not going in with super high expectations, against the Yankees. But Germán is a guy that on the flip side, like the offense should be able to have their way with him, kind of like they did with Severino tonight. So they could grind one out tomorrow, get a close win tomorrow. Then I feel really good about bringing the brooms out on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's get to some questions. If you got those, throw those in the chat. As always, we ask folks, start your comment with question in all caps. That helps us keep track of where we are. most of the time, once we get bogged down with some questions, I am not caught up in the chat. So if people are trying to react live or to things that I'm saying, I'm not seeing it because I've usually scrolled up in order to get to some questions. So if you've got any questions, feel free to throw those in. If you got a food question or something you want to save for the end, yeah, go ahead and hang on to that one for a bit. I did see a question a couple minutes ago. Let me see if I could find it. This is from Michael. Can we trade for the Mariners bullpen guys? I'm like 85% sure they won't make the playoffs. We could use Paul Sewald and Topa. They're both on 1-year contracts. I'll back this up because sometimes it's hard in this context to get really specific about individual guys and teams. Do you think the bullpen is an area, Daniel, that the Dodgers are going to need to address in the next couple of months? Or with the number of guys they got on the 60-day IL, the number of guys that maybe have struggled, but you feel good, might be able to bounce back, do you think the guys they've got are actually the makings of a good enough bullpen?
I think the first thing is you got to see where all those injured, guys are at. Like, where's Daniel Hudson at? Where's JP Fireeisen at? Where's Alex Reyes at? These are all guys who you brought in knowing that they weren't going to pitch before the All-Star break, but theoretically should be contributors down the road. Those are 3 arms right there that, in theory, if they're healthy, could potentially be high leverage type guys. So if you got those guys coming back, you're definitely not nearly as concerned. And also another name that's floated around there, Walker Buehler, if he's able to come back in September, maybe in a relief role. So I'd say right now, the main focus should be starting pitching, and we've known that for a while now. I mean, due to injuries, ineffectiveness, the clear weakness on this team has been starting pitching. And we know typically Andrew Friedman has not been a big let's go get the best bullpen guy available at the deadline. We know he doesn't like doing that. And in the past, it hasn't exactly worked out. Like, they traded Yordan Alvarez for Josh Fields and O'Neal Cruz for Tony Watson. So their bullpen acquisitions haven't exactly worked out. So I'd expect they usually go get some fringe type guys that they like. Like last year, they went and got Chris Martin, who ended up being really great for them down the stretch. But they gave up Zach McKinstry to get him. So it's not like you're giving up your top prospects there. So we'll see. We'll see as that gets closer. I mean, we're still here in the beginning of June. These bullpens are ever changing. Like, guys are getting hurt. Guys are, some guys have a month where they pitch well. Other guys have a month where they pitch, poorly. So we'll have to reassess this down the line. But I wouldn't expect, like, if the Dodgers go out and make like a big trade at the deadline, I would not expect it to be for a bullpen guy.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on kind of what you led with there. I think the Dodgers have a bunch of guys. Some of the best available arms, so to speak, on the market will be guys that they're coming off of the 60-day IL for the Dodgers. You're talking about Alex Reyes, JP Fireeisen, Blake Trinan. All 3 of those are potentially elite relief pitchers and probably better than any guy who's available. I would add into that equation if Dustin May comes back healthy, and who knows? Like, is Bobby Miller find himself at some point a guy they're trying to limit innings and maybe he ends up in a relief role? I could see that. I think the bigger question here is like how much confidence they have in Yency Almonte and Alex Vesia to be able to bounce back. Those are 2 guys who were among their 3 or 4 best relievers last year. Both have struggled. Almonte seems to have shown more flashes of like 5 or 6 outings in a row where he's unbelievable, and then he gets blown up a little bit. Vesia has kind of just been in general a mess. On the flip side, Victor Gonzalez has been a positive. Phil Bickford has struggled. I don't think he's going to be long for this team with no more options for him. So I would say on the bullpen, I think the amount of guys that they have on the 60-day IL, the amount of young pitchers, I mean, who knows? Like, towards the end of the season, could Gavin Stone come up in a relief role? Like, Ryan Pepio when he comes back.
With his changeup.
Yeah, exactly. Pepio, we've joked a couple of years ago that he could have been a high leverage reliever with fastball touching, upper 90s and the changeup that he has if he can throw it for strikes. So I think they've got some options there. It is a very long answer to your question there. So I'm not sure those guys would be on the radar. I think internally the Dodgers are going to be able to solve that problem. Kevin asks, over under 30 home runs for JD Martinez. What number is he at right now?
13?
Yeah, I'd have to. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I'd say either somewhere in like the 28 to 33 range.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing for JD is because he's the DH, he's basically going to play 162 games. So, yeah, 13th home run for him tonight through 42 games. So, I mean, on pace for well over 30. Yeah, I'll take the over. Give me like 33 for JD. Eric asks a question that I think is designed just to make me mad. Do we see Austin Barnes this series? Daniel, if we see Austin Barnes in a series in which they had an off day Thursday, an off day Monday, and Sunday is Sunday Night Baseball, then I might be throwing something that morning when I see that lineup. There's no reason that Austin Barnes should be playing in a series in which there is no day game after a night game and in which they have an off day on both ends of the series.
And also, I'm pretty sure Barnes caught the last Nationals game on Wednesday as well. So Smith just got 2 days in a row off, Wednesday and Thursday. He should be able to play 3 and then get another off day. I'll say yes. I think he'll be in there all 3.
Well, you think Will Smith is in there all 3?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Mike asks, what are your thoughts about Noah Syndergaard starting next week against the Reds? You and I did a video on this up on the Dodger Blue 1958 YouTube page. So if you missed it, go check that out once we're done here. But we both basically landed on the Dodgers don't really have a better option than Noah Syndergaard. As bad as he has been, neither of us is saying he's not that bad or we're over exaggerating. It's just there's not really a better option inside the organization.
Yeah. And look, if there's ever an opportunity to, bounce back, I know the Reds have been playing, decent baseball lately, but it's not like a murderer's row. So should be a good opportunity.
Don't tell Kirk Herbstreit that, Daniel.
I saw that. That was funny. So yeah, at this point, it's not like you have healthy starters just waiting in the wings. So you got to trot them back out there, hope for better results. Julio's probably a week away from coming back, so we could revisit this conversation down the line if he has another bad outing against the Reds.
Yeah. Iris related, is the bullpen a viable option for Thor? I'll let you answer this one.
I just don't think he has the stuff that really plays up in the bullpen. Maybe his velo would play up a little bit, which he could really benefit from because the velo has been way down. But overall, he's not striking out many guys. Like, he doesn't have the put away stuff. So I don't necessarily think moving him to the bullpen is going to fix any of his issues. And I mean, maybe in like a mop-up type role where you could get him in some low leverage type innings. Like tonight, he could have maybe pitched the 9th or something. But until you have enough healthy starters, I don't know if that's really a conversation even worth entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I think Blake in a chat that we were both in joked. It basically summed up my thoughts. He doesn't throw hard and he walks a ton of people and doesn't strike anybody out. That's pretty much the worst recipe for a relief pitcher ever. So there's Noah Syndergaard. I would say no. I mean, I think at that point it's probably more of a distraction than anything, and you're better off just cutting him and moving on. Not to say
what I would rather do is, and we talked about this on our video the other day, I'd rather throw him on the IL for a couple weeks, let him work through his mechanical issues, because he said after his last start that it's tough to work on your mechanics between starts when you only have a couple days. You're only throwing one bullpen or whatever. So if you want to give him a few weeks off, let him work through those issues, see if you could make some tweaks that work. I'd rather do that than sticking him in the bullpen.
Lewis asks, given Noah's problems, do the Dodgers have enough starting pitching during the period before the trade deadline? Roughly 45 games. So basically right now they've got 5 healthy starters, and that includes Noah Syndergaard. Julio Urias expected back in the next week and a half or so, but that's pretty much it. Gavin Stone is available in the minor leagues, but he's been terrible. Pepio is out for a long time. Dustin May is out for a long time. So, I mean, my answer on the surface, Daniel, is technically they do. They've got 5 guys that'll be, I guess if Syndergaard sticks around, it'll be 6 guys plus Gavin Stone for the next 45 days. But that feels like he'd be walking a tightrope, and at least every 5 days would be a start that nobody's looking forward to.
Yeah, and the thing with this stuff is you never know, what day an injury is going to pop up. Like, obviously, we never want that, but it's just reality. We've seen it already this season. So you never know. Tony Gonsolin has gotten hurt his fair share of times. Clayton Kershaw has gotten hurt his fair share of times. So you really just never know. You could, and another thing is you could literally never have too much starting pitching. Like, whatever, we've seen it with the Dodgers time and time again. It looks like in spring training, you're talking about how the rotation is 8 or 9 deep. And then 2 months into the season, you're like, oh, do we even have 5 healthy starters? Yeah. So, we'll see. As of now, they have 5. We'll see how Michael Grove pitches tomorrow. And then we're, about a week to 10 days off from Julio coming back.
Yeah.
And we'll see with him too. It's not like he was pitching great before his injury. So that's definitely, if you want to talk the biggest holes on this roster right now, it pretty much starts and ends with starting pitching.
Yeah, Ederico asked, how are we feeling about not re-signing Tyler Anderson? He was our Mr. Durability. We were both on here. That was a guy that we would have loved to re-sign, especially at the price that he signed for. I do think there's a little bit, Daniel, of hindsight is 2020. I mean, we're talking about Bobby Miller. People like how Bobby Miller is pitching. He was 9th on the depth chart to start the season. So the number of things that have had to go wrong with the Dodgers starting pitching so far, Syndergaard has had to be terrible. Now, could you have predicted that? Maybe. They've had some injuries. Could you have predicted that? Probably. Dustin May being injured is not a surprise. But then to lose Urias for a short period, for Pepio to be unavailable, then for Grove to get hurt, for Gavin Stone to be terrible. I mean, those are all, like, I wouldn't say unlikely outcomes, but for all 5 of them to have happened, for you to get the short end of the stick on all of those, Tony Gonsolin missing whatever with a weird ankle injury, 6 weeks or something to begin the year as well. So, like, you stack all this up, and yes, I would have loved to re-sign Tyler Anderson, but I do feel like as I think about it, that in some ways the Dodgers have gotten a little bit unfortunate with the injuries and some of the luck around it. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, that is a fair assessment. And even with it all, we're sitting here on June 2nd, and the Dodgers are tied for the best record in the National League. Yeah. So, they've figured out a way to make it work regardless who's been there. I know Tyler Anderson hasn't exactly been great with the Angels this year, but at the same time, that's the Angels, and the Dodgers pitching guys are way better. So you'd like to think if he was still on the Dodgers, he'd be pitching better, but you really never know. It's not like he was like the year he had last year was the norm for him. Like, that was an outlier year compared to the rest of his career. So, I think both me and you before the season, we wanted Tyler Anderson back. I think, we'd be in better shape unquestionably if we had, like, even as poorly as he's been pitching, he has not been as bad as Noah Syndergaard. So he would be a better option. But I don't think, if you look at the standings and what the Dodgers record is right now, I don't think it would be drastically different if they had Tyler Anderson instead of, Syndergaard.
Yeah, with Anderson as bad as he has been, 5.5 ERA, the expected ERA and FIP right there. I mean, 5.6 strikeout per 9, and the walk rate is 4.27. So those are terrible numbers. And his strikeout rate was under 7 last year. It was the walk rate that was much better, 1.71. I mean, it just, thinking out loud, I wonder if that's the type of guy, like, I don't know if you want to pay his contract of 2 more years at $13 million a piece for that, but I wonder if that's the type of player is Andrew Friedman making calls on and saying, hey, are you guys sick of Tyler Anderson over there? Because, again, he's a guy that you're looking at your options and saying, at least he's going to give us innings. And we saw what we had in him last year, and we think we can replicate some of that. Then, who knows? Again, I don't think you want to sign up for $13 million a year of this version of Tyler Anderson. You'd want a discount, but who knows how desperate the Angels might be in a situation like that. Let's see. I mean, here's another Syndergaard question. Bullpen game instead of Syndergaard. Are we there yet? With how overworked the bullpen has been, this seems a little bit risky. And then again, they had an off day Friday. They have another off day Monday. So maybe the bullpen, only 2 innings tonight. Maybe it's rested by the time Syndergaard comes back around.
Yeah, I mean, Syndergaard starts usually turn into bullpen games anyways. So, I mean, I don't think you want to willingly tax your bullpen like that in June when, you're still winning games at a high rate either way. Like, ideally, Syndergaard would pitch better and you wouldn't be essentially giving away a game every 5th day. But I still think there's hope that he could turn it around and at least be decent enough to where how the offense is performing. Like, he's giving you 5 solid, kind of like we talked about with Michael Grove. Like, can he just give you 5 innings of 3-run ball? And then you basically have a chance to win every game when it's that scenario. So, I don't think you ever willingly want to just throw out a bullpen game and tax your guys like that, especially when you're dealing with injuries in the bullpen as well. Some guys haven't exactly pitched well. Like, would you rather have 4 Syndergaard innings or 2 Bickford and 2 Vesia innings? Like, I don't know if one option is necessarily better than the other.
Let's create a Twitter poll. You want 4 Syndergaard innings or 2 from Bickford and 2 from Vesia? Jeez Louise. Yeah, but I mean, to the point of, they're also starting Grove and Bobby Miller, as you kind of alluded to. So you've got 2 guys in the rotation besides Syndergaard that you have no real guarantee you're going to get 4 innings out of. And so to just willingly kill your bullpen and then say, okay, Gonsolin's not a guy who traditionally gets you deep into games. Kershaw, the health is always feelingly shaky. So there you go. Let's talk real quick. We'll wrap up on this. I want to talk about the Diamondbacks because they are tied with the Dodgers. They took the lead temporarily before the Dodgers won and tied. And if someone wants to throw a food question or something in the chat to get things fired up a little bit to close us out, feel free to do that. But where are you at on the Diamondbacks? They're as you said, they're tied with the Dodgers for the National League West lead. They are tied for the national best record in the National League. Both the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks currently winning more than 60% of their games. There's only 3 other teams in all of Major League Baseball, the Rays, the Orioles, and the Rangers, who can say that. So it's a pretty remarkable deal for the Diamondbacks. Again, the Dodgers have a better win differential, but the Diamondbacks won 6 in a row. I had the Diamondbacks finishing 3rd, and that felt like I was going out on a limb. I did not expect the Padres to be as bad as they are, but that's a different conversation. Are the Diamondbacks a real deal? I see Laura in the chat saying the Diamondbacks are the real deal. It's a young team. Are you buying the Diamondbacks as like a legit National League West contender?
Yeah, I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they got a lot of young talent. I think their starting pitching is really good. Like you look at a guy like Zach Gallen is going to be in the Cy Young conversation, and Merrill Kelly has been pitching well, and they got a lot of young position players that are athletic. They got speed. They hit for power. So I think they'll be in the mix. Like I still think the Dodgers continue at their pace and win 98, 100 games. I think they'll be okay. But I definitely think the Diamondbacks are going to be like a 90, 92, 93 win type team where they're going to be in the mix all year. They're probably going to be a wild card team. And that's a team that, I don't want to say you're going to have to worry about, but they're going to be there the whole year. And I, like you said, we're definitely expecting the Padres to kind of be that team, and they haven't been so far.
Yeah.
So I guess there's got to be someone that's got to make it interesting. But I still think the Padres will get back in it at some point too. So I think if you're the Dodgers, you just got to keep playing good baseball. Just worry about yourself. And then I think by the end of the season, if you're, in the 97, 98, 100 win range, you'll be fine.
Do you think the Padres finish ahead of the Diamondbacks?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's tough. They've dug themselves.
It's like an 8-game difference right now, so that's a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah. Look, I think we would both agree with this. I'd rather the Diamondbacks be the team that the Dodgers are tied with today than the Padres, because I think the ceiling on the Padres is higher. I think when you look at a guy like James Outman on the Dodgers and sort of the regressions he's had, the guys on the Diamondbacks, some of them like the Corbin Carrolls of the world, they're higher ranked prospects, so the likelihood of regression is not as high. But it does feel like, hey, at some point it's going to come back down to earth. I wouldn't think that if the Padres were in that position. So I like that it's the Diamondbacks. I think by the end that the Dodgers are maybe 5 or 6 games up, and that's kind of where it ends. I think the Dodgers, the other day I was saying like 97 wins is where I have the Dodgers right now. And so kind of right where you said, Diamondbacks 92, 93, Dodgers 97-ish. But I think they're good. I mean, like you said it, they've got a couple of legit pitchers. They've got some young guys who were like, top 25 prospects in all of baseball. So some of those guys balling out is not the most surprising thing in the world. All right, we got some food questions in here. These are some good ones. So this one was Derek asked, is In-N-Out the best burger ever for its value? But then BC responded with Tommy's Burger. So I'm just going to tweak the question. Tommy's or In-N-Out, Daniel? They're both good value. So we're talking real Tommy's, not like the copy fake Tommy's, real Tommy's or In-N-Out. What are you going with?
I'm going In-N-Out for the burger.
Okay.
I like the Tommy's fries more, so I might, and the Tommy's burger is really good too. So as a meal, I'd say they're pretty comparable. But I'd take the In-N-Out burger.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Tommy's is, I get In-N-Out. They've got it up here in Oregon. There's In-N-Out everywhere. So I might go Tommy's just because of the rarity factor. I literally texted my friend who from Oregon is down there going to games. And I said, hey, Tommy's 2.5 miles from Dodger Stadium, chili cheeseburger. You won't regret it. So I'd probably lean Tommy's, but not just because like I don't have the option to get Tommy's all that often.
I will say this is a funny question just because it's kind of something that was relevant to me recently. Like a couple weeks ago, I got Tommy's on the way home, and then right when I got home and sat down to eat, one of my roommates texted me and said he's at In-N-Out and asked if I wanted anything. So when he showed up at home, like I thought I'd be like more bummed out, like that he had In-N-Out and I had Tommy's. But as I was eating it, I was actually like, I'm perfect. Like I'm perfectly fine with this Tommy's right now. Like I got the better fries. I got a burger that's 90% of an In-N-Out burger. So yeah. I was actually really happy with my Tommy's, and I didn't have FOMO with the In-N-Out.
Love it. Okay, BMR, pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Yay.
Yeah, to me, I'm neutral. I'm like the one guy who doesn't have a crazy strong opinion. I won't usually willingly order it, but if I order like a barbecue chicken pizza that has pineapple on it, I'm not going to take it off. If somebody ordered Hawaiian for the table and that's what's sitting in front of me, I will gladly crush it. The darkness, El Pollo Loco or KFC? This is a funny question. Or Popeyes, I guess. I'll throw Popeyes in there too. You got a chicken option?
I think El Pollo Loco is the best of that bunch. I mean, I feel like it's not an exact comparison. Like I feel like KFC and Popeyes are two you compare together. El Pollo Loco is kind of different, a little healthier, but I like El Pollo Loco.
Yeah, El Pollo Loco is great. They don't have it. They don't have them in Oregon, so it's tragic. But Popeyes is better than KFC for me, so that's why I threw it in there. Popeyes chicken sandwich.
I'd agree with that. I like Popeyes over KFC.
Okay, Iris is going to close us out here. Best food item at the Costco food court.
I mean, I don't go there very often, so I can't really answer this. I just know the hot dogs are cheap, and the pizza is decent. But other than that, I don't really know.
Chicken bake is delicious. It is maybe the worst for you food item that you could ever find, and they tell you the calories right up there. So you've got to it's staring you right in the face. It's delicious. Speaking of making terrible food decisions, I mean, I can never choose between pizza and hot dog. So for $3.50, I don't choose between the two. I just get both. Give me the hot dog and the pizza. If I had to choose, I'd probably go hot dog because I just think it's a great hot dog. And I'm not getting hot dogs a whole lot of other places. I'm eating pizza, a lot of things. But I mean, $1.99 for a big slice. Again, the answer here, Iris, is the hot dog pizza combo. Yeah. And you get the drink too. I don't even need the drink because I don't want any of the sodas they've got there. But there you go. Nomo Splitter gets it. Get both is the correct answer. So, hey, everybody, we appreciate you joining us here. DodgerHeads live postgame show. Again, Dodgers beat the Yankees 8-4. Mookie Betts, 2 home runs. JD Martinez, Max Muncy, home runs as well. Clayton Kershaw, 7 innings, 2 earned, 9 strikeouts. So good night all around for the Dodgers. They got 2 more against the Yankees Saturday and Sunday with a pair of rookies, Michael Grove and Bobby Miller, on the mound. We appreciate you joining us. Be sure, please subscribe, ring the notification bell here on the Dodger Blue 1958 YouTube page. You can check out Dodger Blue 1958 everywhere on social media. If you're listening to this after the fact on podcast, thank you. We are part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network, so you can search DodgerHeads on Google, Spotify, or Apple. Please subscribe, rate, and review. We'd greatly appreciate that as well. That is Daniel Starkand. My name is Jeff Spiegel. Enjoy the rest of your night. And as always, go Dodgers.